Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be making everything that is pumpkin. So we're going to start out by making some pumpkin bars with a cream cheese icing. And the good thing is that it's going to be keto. So we're going to start with that. So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need a cup of pumpkin puree. Make sure it's the pure pumpkin. You will need a quarter cup of the coconut oil, 2 ounces of cream cheese. It calls for almond flour, but I'm allergic to almonds, so I'm just going to use coconut flour for the whole entire recipe. So I'm going to use a quarter cup of coconut flour, and then usually if I use coconut flour only, I add an egg. So 3 eggs, and vanilla extract, 2/3 cup of erythritol, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of the pumpkin pie spice, and we are going to throw in a half a teaspoon of salt. So these are the ingredients you will be needing. I will link the recipes down below that I'm going to be making. I'm going to be making 3 recipes today, so I will have them all linked down below. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is you need a 9x9 pan. So what I usually do, I learned this little trick off of Jen Chapin, I think her last name is, on YouTube. I'll link her channel below. Excellent recipes, not keto, but still she's an excellent cook and baker. So I just spray the pan on the bottom, and then I put my parchment paper, and it tends to stick to the pan spray, so you're not fighting with it to get it in there like usually, right? So you'll need parchment paper, and then what I usually do is I'll just spray it lightly. Let's get started. I am going to put 1 cup of the pure pumpkin in, and add a quarter of a cup of coconut oil. I melted it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. Add 2 ounces of cream cheese. Then I'm going to add 3 eggs, since I used the coconut flour in this recipe. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. This one is a half a teaspoon measurement spoon. So 2 of those. And then we are going to mix those up. Mix up all of your wet ingredients. Alright, so that is mixed up. We're going to do the dry ingredients now. So we will take a quarter of a cup of coconut flour. You can see the recipe below that uses the coconut flour and the almond flour, but I just use the coconut flour in this recipe. And I'm just going to measure out 2/3 of a cup of the erythritol. And then we're going to add that. And then 2 teaspoons of the baking powder. This is my half teaspoon as well, so 4 of those. And 1 teaspoon of the pumpkin pie spice. Two of these. This is my half teaspoon measurement. And then half a teaspoon of salt. All right, and that's the rest of the dry ingredients. I'm just going to give that a stir, and then we will add it to the wet ingredients. All right, I'm just going to add it here to my wet ingredients slowly, and then it'll all mix together. Now this is all mixed together, so we're just going to put it in our 9x9 pan that we have here. All right, and pour it in the 9x9 pan, and then we will put that in the oven at 350 degrees. And make sure you get it all in there. Smells good already anyways. So hopefully this will turn out. I'm not the most great baker, I'll be honest, but I try. So let's say there's not many things that I've burnt or anything like that. I think I've only, even with cooking, surprisingly enough. So I didn't cook much when I was younger. How about you guys? Did you guys cook or bake right when you left home, or did it take a little bit of the learning thing? I think with me it was mainly using different spices and stuff to make things more flavorful. I would have to say that's probably the biggest struggle for me because my mom never used a lot of spices. She did bake. She used to bake these at Halloween time. After Halloween was over, she used to oil up all the pumpkin and make these really good pumpkin cookies. And I wish I had the recipe. Man, they were so good. That and the pumpkin seeds. So we have that to look forward to once Halloween comes and goes, if you guys do that. All right, I think this is all ready. We are going to put it in the oven. Hey Google, set timer 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and we're starting now.
Okay, well that is baking. I'm going to make the cream cheese icing. So you will need 6 ounces of cream cheese, which is right there. I put it in the microwave for a little bit because I just like it softened. I think it mixes so much better. Throw that in there. Then you will need half of the cup. I've used this of the Swerve, making sure it's icing sugar. So that is a half a cup right there. Then you will need a teaspoon of vanilla. This is my half teaspoon again. I have to get new measurement spoons because I have no idea where mine have all gone. I have no idea. And you will need a tablespoon of heavy whipping cream, which I have here. I actually do have a tablespoon one. There is that. All right, now you'll mix that all together. This pumpkin pie bars are done. I left mine in for 30 minutes. After 20 minutes, it seems still a little bit jiggly. So now we'll let that completely cool before we ice in it. All right. Taste test.
That's actually so good.
And it's keto too.
It's like kind of weird texture, but it's really, really good.
So you guys have to try this. Recipe is linked down below. All right, next we are going to be making a pumpkin pie mousse. So we will need the 1/3 of a cup of the pumpkin puree. Just make sure that it's the pure pumpkin. And we will need a 1/2 teaspoon of the cinnamon, and I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of the pumpkin pie spice as well too. Recipe doesn't call for it, but I'm going to add it. And a 1/3 teaspoon of vanilla, and a cup. Then you got to fold this in. You got to fold in like a whipping cream, and for that we'll need a 1/4 cup of the heavy cream mixed with 1 1/3 teaspoons of sweetener. So I'm only making 2 servings. The recipe that I linked down below is 6 servings. So I just plunked in the 2 servings, and these are the measurements that it gave me. So let's get started. The 1/3 cup of pumpkin. Like I said, just make sure that's the pure pumpkin, because if you get the sweet ones, there's a lot of carbs in that. All right, so there is a 1/3 cup. And then we will need the cinnamon, and we need a 1/2 teaspoon. So using my 1/4 teaspoon again as well too. So we'll use 2 of these. Oh my gosh, I'm getting down there on my cinnamon. Hang on a minute. I'll do one more because these ones are kind of. All right, come on, work with me. Okay, there we go. All right, cinnamon, and I'm going to add in, like I said, I'm going to add in the pumpkin spice. I'm just going to do a half a teaspoon of this as well, too. So 2 of these. Here we go. And then we just need 1/3 of a teaspoon of vanilla, which is like such a tiny, tiny little bit. I'm just going to do a splash. There we go. All right, and now we're going to mix that together. Okay, now we're going to get started on the whipping cream that you're going to fold in. A tablespoon and 1/3 of sweetener. And a little bit. All right, there we go. We're going to mix that up, and then we're going to fold it in with our pumpkin mixture. Okay, so our mixture is done. So we are going to put it in with our pumpkin mixture. And then we are going to fold it together. All right, so we're just going to fold that in to mix it all together. This would be a nice dessert on Thanksgiving. Kind of light, but still like sweet enough. I think that would be really, really good. I have that all folded together. And then I'm just going to put them in these plastic containers because they need to be in the fridge for an hour. So like I said, I made 2 servings, so I'm just going to divide that up. So I took the mousse out of the fridge. Sorry I don't have anything more appealing, like a little cute little dish, and I just topped it with some of my whipping cream that I make and some cinnamon. And that would be a nice little light dessert. Next we are going to make the pumpkin spice latte. I ended up getting these the chai tea from the dollar store, and I wanted to make a latte out of it, so I thought this was the perfect thing. So you're going to need 3 cups of water boiling, and that's what I have started there. And you will need 2 of the chai tea tea bags. And you will need some of the pumpkin caramel. I use pumpkin caramel syrup as well too. And then for the milk foam, you will need the heavy cream, 1/4 cup heavy cream, and the vanilla extract just to make the milk foam to make it a latte. I will have the recipe linked down below for this as well too. I'm going to add a little bit of a sweetener as well too because I like my drinks sweet. So I have the tea bags in there, and I'm just going to let it steep for about 10 minutes. So I've added a tablespoon of the skinny syrup pumpkin caramel. I've put in 1 tablespoon in each cup. I've frothed my milk in my little whisk that I have here attached to our coffee maker. So I'm just going to do that to make the milk foam. All right, the tea is done, and then it says to put 2 of the tablespoons in with your tea. Actually, there we go. And then let's just sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon on top. And there we have it. Sip of this, see how it tastes. I'm not a big tea person, so we'll see. Ooh, that's actually really good. Definitely tastes like fall. I like it actually. Sweet enough as well too. This is the end of the video. So hopefully you guys liked everything that I made. Make sure you try it at home. And if you want to see more fall inspired videos like this one, then hit that like button and make sure you subscribe down below for more recipes.